Hi, my name is Gabe Owens, and I'm going to show you how to use the feature tab napping on the Social Engineering Toolkit version 3.8 that is on BackTrack revision 3. So the first thing we need to do is download BackTrack. To do that, all we got to do is go to backtrack-linux.org. Show you that page, and just simply click on Downloads. Scroll down here. It's going to ask for your name, an email address, and a country. You can enter that if you want to receive their email updates. If you don't, you can just go ahead and skip by clicking Downloads. This screen, you're going to go ahead and select the version that you want. I went ahead and went with the latest, which is revision 3. It just came out the 13th of August 2012. The two types of window managers are GNOME and KDE. I prefer GNOME. It has 32 and 64-bit architectures. And then you can usually choose iOS or VMware if you're choosing 32. And then you can either download via a direct download or torrent. Personally, I like torrent because I believe that it goes faster. Go ahead and click download right here. I'm not going to do it because I have already downloaded it. Next, you go over to your VMware, and then all you have to do is do a file new, and then you continue without a disk since you have it saved to your computer. Go ahead and choose the disk image. I keep mine in a virtual machine, a file, and there's BackTrack revision 3. Go ahead and open it, and then continue. The operating system for BackTrack is Linux, and the BackTrack 5 uses version of Ubuntu. So you're going to go ahead and continue from there. As long as you're fine with the custom settings, you can go ahead and click Finish. It says right here that the disk size uses a maximum of 20 gigabytes. It only actually uses approximately 13. Like I said, and as you can see in the background here, I already have BackTrack installed, so I'm going to go ahead and click Cancel and save us both some time. To start the installation, it's going to present you with a command line prompt where all you have to do is enter Start X and hit Enter. It's going to go ahead and install and bring you up to a screen that looks just like this one, except for it will not have any of these desktop applications. It's going to only have this install BackTrack. You're going to want to double click that, and it's going to walk you through an installation guide. After that's done, it's going to ask to restart, which you'll want to do. It will go ahead and just restart the VM. You don't have to worry about actually restarting your whole computer. Once BackTrack boots back up, you're going to go ahead. It's going to present you with a username and password login. The username is root, R-O-O-T. The password is Tor, T-O-O-R. That is the default for BackTrack when it is installed. Then you're going to go ahead and type Start X again and hit Enter. And we'll go ahead and start you up with this. Now, the program that we are going to use inside of BackTrack is called SET, which stands for Social Engineering Toolkit. So all I have to do here is go to BackTrack. SET is an exploitation tool, and it socially engineers right here. BackTrack 5 actually has two versions of SET. You can click on either one. This one's 3.8 and this one's 4.1.2. Both of them contain Tabnapper, so you can use either one. If you don't want to try to find it through this long list of application menus, you can also just go ahead and enter terminal and enter the choose directory. It's in penetration testing, pen test /exploits/set. Go ahead and enter. I'll take you to here. To actually start that menu, you're going to need to go to this ./set. Just type it in and click enter, and it'll bring you back up with the same menu. I'm going to go ahead and close that one. Maximize this one. So what is SET? if we go back over to the Mac side, outside of the VMware, SET is a social engineering toolkit, and it is designed by the guy that made this trusted SEC, and the idea he had behind it was to show more people the different attacks that you can do through social engineering, and to help make companies and businesses more aware of these types of attacks in order to help better protect them. As you can see, it's had over 2 million downloads, and that doesn't include in BackTrack. And it has also been the bestseller in security books for 9 months. It's a really good program. When we come back over here, you can see, like I said, it has social engineering attacks. It also can do fast track penetration. But we're just going to stick with a standard social engineering attack. From here, it shows you many different types of attacks. There's spear phishing, which is, emailing people or whatnot, trying to get them to click on a link. Website attacks, vectors, which we will use. There's mass mailers. There's wireless access points attacks. They even have an SMS, which is texting. You can send people fake texts. So we're going to go ahead and stick with website attacks. It will present you with this menu that has a bunch of different types of website attacks, Java, Metasploit. What we are going to use is this one called tabnapping. The idea behind tabnapping is like any other social exploit where you're trying to trick the user into telling you their username and password, usually for something that's fairly important, such as a bank account or email or Facebook even. Now the way it works is that the user does click on a link, it will open up a tab. The second that they switch away from that tab, it will redirect that tab to whatever fake clone page that you make. It could be their bank, it could be their email, like I said. Whenever they enter information into it, then it sends that information back to you. So I'll just go ahead and show you this. You can select 4 for tabnapping. Like I said, it redirects it to a clone of a website. So it presents you with this menu with 3 options: web templates, which you can't actually choose because since you're trying to trick someone into entering information, since websites update so often that if they didn't recognize it, the whole attack would be pointless anyway. So it just wants you to go ahead and clone a site or upload a custom one. We're going to just clone one though. First thing it's going to ask you for now is the IP address. The IP address is pretty easy to find. All you have to do is open up another terminal window, type in ifconfig, and it will pop up with this. The very second line is your IP address. You would go ahead and copy that. And there we go. And paste in this. Now, before I click next, or before I hit enter, it does say if you're using external IP, use your external IP for this. What they mean by that is since I'm running in a VM, VM does not have access to the wireless card on the actual laptop, which is needed for certain wireless attacks, as it shows right up here. If you're going to do a wireless access point attack, then you would need access to the wireless card. The VM, though, only sees a hard connection, such as an Ethernet. If the way they work around this would be, if they wanted to, would be to use a USB wireless, such as this Belka one I have here. This one currently I don't have working because it's a lot trickier than I actually thought it would be, because it's written in Windows and you have to do kernels and stuff. But anyways, if you did have that working, you would use the IP here and enter that. That way it would actually be directed back to your computer. So back down to here, we're going to go ahead and enter. Next, it's going to ask for the URL to clone. For this situation, we're just going to go ahead and stick with pretty simple Facebook, which is not that. So, if we just go to Facebook, this is the Facebook. You can tell because this is HTTPS, which means secure. So, we're going to go ahead and copy that back over here into terminal and hit enter. Now, what it's doing now is cloning the website. It says this is going to take a little bit, and since this is only a 2-month-old MacBook Air, it didn't take very long. Explains it a little bit. This is a very interesting line. It says, regardless, this captures all posts on the website, even though most people use it for username and password. What this means is that you could use it in the sense of if somebody is already logged in and you do know the username and password. If you're trying to get something such as a credit card number or a PIN number for a debit card, it can also capture that if you direct them to that type of site. So it has several different types of potentials. At this point, after it's all loaded, it's actually just going to wait on somebody to actually use it. Now, how you get somebody to use it is interesting. You go, and usually you can send them a link that would contain the IP address that you originally entered. When they enter it, it says, please wait while the site loads. It will stay on the screen for a really, really long time, or if they switch tabs, which most people do because they become impatient, the tab will actually switch to whatever that whatever web page that you copied. At that point, when they switch back to it, they can enter whatever username or whatever email and password that you want them to. Let's just go with this. And go ahead and click login. Now, in this example, it does redirect me back to the login screen because I just entered fake information. If they did enter their actual information, it will legitimately log them in. If you notice, it also, originally they were at this. A lot of people will notice this, it's the #1 giveaway that they're not actually at the right site. There are ways to get around this, such as if you were directing this at one specific person, if you could get a hold of their router, you could change their DNS settings to actually have this say Facebook, or if someone didn't try to get to Facebook, redirect them to this link. You would have to know, though, specifically who you're trying to attack, so it really wouldn't work in a phishing scam. Now, since I've entered this information, and it redirected me here, or it would have redirected me to the actual login if I'd entered correct information. If we go back to the terminal, you'll see that it says, we got a hit. It tells you a few parameters, and then it shows you what the person entered as their email and what the person entered as their password. It's simple as that. So from here, you can either leave it up and send the link to more people, and it will record as many people as visit, or whenever you're done, you can just hit Control-C, and it will generate reports for you and save them in the file. It generates one in HTML and one in XML. Hit return, takes you back to the main menu. So if you want to view those reports, you can just go to, I went ahead and just created a desktop link to it, but it's a file inside of that program in your computer, or in the VM. Just double click it, brings you up with this nice, beautiful looking SEC Maniac page where it will show you the code that printed out, all the parameters, including the email and password. An interesting thing that it also will show you is that it will show you how many actual individuals visited the site versus how many people became victims or fell for the attack. That could be interesting so you can see how well your scam is actually working if you were to use it in that sense.